So I do read my Bible every day. I read my
Okay.
Bible every day.
Beautiful.
And what's crazy, because I
Mhm.
didn't always, but I started reading my Bible every day, and I saw this statistic. They followed people from
Mhm.
4 years old to 80 years old,
Ooh, I
and
love these studies. Okay.
oh, my gosh, I love it. And they followed them a long time,
Yeah, literally.
and so, and I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And so they followed that age group for a long time. I can't remember how long, but and they said that if a person read their Bible one time a week, it didn't make that much of an impact. If they read it twice a week, it didn't really make an impact. Three times a
Mhm.
week, they maintained their relationship with God and wherever they were at. Four times a week,
Mm.
depression went down by crazy percentages. Like pornographic views and all that stuff for
Mhm.
people went down crazy. Like just dropped. And then your courage for God jumped up by like 400% or something like that. Like you felt more
Wow.
inclined to share. And it's insane. I wish I had all the stats for you. It's actually crazy. I have like goosebumps. It's crazy. So, and I can attest that that changes your life.
What does courage for God mean in this sense?
For me, courage would be a lot of times, and not everybody's different. The Bible talks about how he gives everybody a gift. And for me,
Mm.
it's the gift of speaking. And so a lot of
Mm.
times I'll be in a store and he'll have me go walk up to somebody and be like, I want you to go talk to that person. And I don't know that person. What if they want to listen to me? But every time I do it,
Mhm.
something amazing happens. Like I
Wow.
okay, for
Huh.
example,
So interesting.
okay, I'm hiking one day, okay? I'm
Okay.
hiking. I get down to the bottom of the mountain and I get in my car and I'm driving away and a lady walks by my car. She's and God said, "You stop your car, you get out and you go talk to her." And I was like, no, I'm not gonna."
Stop your car.
I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And he's like, I mean, there's sometimes a gentle, sometimes there's a you stop now, like an emergency feeling, and it was an emergency feeling. So I got out
Mm.
and I ran over to her and I said, I am so sorry to bother you, but God told me to talk to you. She's immediately in tears. She's crying already. And I'm like, okay, so I am supposed to talk to you. And she said, well, what did God want you to talk about? And I said, you need to know that you're loved, first of all. I feel like I'm supposed to tell you that. And then I felt God tell me to tell her it's not whatever is going on in your life, it's not worth taking a life. And I
Mm.
said, and I thought, Lord, it's not worth taking her life. He said, say the words, it's not worth taking a life. And I said, okay, it's not worth taking a life. And I told her that. So she cries to me. She tells me that her husband is no longer interested in her. They have 3 kids together. She's madly in love with him. And he
Mm.
is not cheating on her yet, but definitely talking to other women. And
Oof.
she's like, I don't know what to do. So we pray together. I pray that God will salvage this, salvage the relationship, salvage the marriage. Well, anyways, I go on about my life, right? I think I think nothing of this. I continue on. I'm like, it was really important. Okay, God, I'm happy I did it. Woohoo. This lady calls my church and says, hey, a girl came up to me. I don't know her name, but she told me she went to your guys' church. And I felt like I didn't tell her. Like she didn't have the courage to tell me. She's like, but she needs to know. So if you could tell her, she goes, so we have 3 kids together. I'm married to this guy. And she goes, I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant. I didn't tell him, but she was like, I was thinking of getting an abortion. Like within days, you know? And she was like, and I thought if he doesn't love me anymore, then he won't want this baby. So she wanted it, but she was like, if he doesn't love me, then he probably doesn't want this. And she's like, because she said that, I'm not going to abort this baby. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, what if I never said anything? She would have done something she didn't want to do. And so it was pretty crazy. And I have so many stories like that. I can't even tell you. So I need to continue to listen. And that's what it looks like.
Mm.
The more you listen, the more clear you hear. And the more you obey, the more words he will give you. If that makes sense.
It completely does. And what I love about it is, whenever he speaks to you, what he's asking you to do is not going to be easy. And
No.
because it's not going to be easy, you're always having to grow as a person. And so, Patsy, for you, does it feel heavy ever to be to always strive to be the best version of yourself?
Yes and no.
Mm,
Because the domino effect. And when you start to do something good,
mhm,
you want to keep doing good.
mm.
And so when you're kind of far away from God, and I kind of feel a little bit distant right now. It's just like a real relationship. It's like
Yeah.
he's a real being and you're a real being. And you really have to put in the time and effort. And I haven't been lately. I've been more focused on work and myself, honestly.
Mhm.
And so I need to change that. And he's been talking to me a lot about it. So I need to work
Mm,
on it. But it's only strenuous when you're not fully surrendered. Like how you said earlier, when
interesting.
like how you serve others, right?
Yeah.
So it's only difficult when you're not fully surrendered. That's the only time it's hard.
That is crazy. And can I just say I got goosebumps from that story of you pulling over, stopping, talking to her. And are y'all still in contact today?
I know where she works.
Okay, got
And
it.
I'm like, but I haven't talked to her, but my church was so excited and just thanked me for like stopping. And they said, we just knew it was you and your sister because my sister was with me because they said a tall brunette. And they're like, we just knew it was you. And I was like, oh my gosh. So that was really, really cool.
One of the things you mentioned was you going up to talk to her, and it's almost kind of obviously you had an intention because God told you what to say, but it's this idea of talking to strangers. Do you feel like talking to strangers and small talk is something that is a dying art?
Yes, I do. Don't you?
I do.
I really do. I talk to strangers all the time. Like, let's say God hasn't told me to talk to somebody. Like, if I'm in line, I want to talk to the person behind me. If I'm on a plane, we talk from the time we take off till we land. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
And I have had a couple passengers proclaim their love for me by the end of flights.
Like romantically, or
Oh,
like.
yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. There's been like at least two, maybe three, at least two
Oh
for
my
sure
gosh.
proclaim their love to me at the end. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just a conversationalist. I'm sorry.
And
Sorry.
I'm just laughing because I just imagine it's like this 30-minute flight from like Dallas to Austin, like so super sure like
Oh my God. And I mean, I remember one dude, he's like, I'm totally normal. I'm super cool. I swear to God. And I'm like, no, I believe you. We just talked for hours. Like, I think you're amazing. I'm not interested. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But, um, but I mean, and you
Mm,
experience this all the time. Like, what is that? I mean, I'm very curious. When you go up to
mm.
somebody and you're asking them a question, are you initially a little bit nervous to ask them to interview? Is it a little scary?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I shot for the first time ever, I remember I went to a park here in Dallas, and I
Oh,
literally.
Dallas, cool. I didn't even know you were in Dallas. That's so cool.
Yeah, 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 in Dallas, and I literally paced up and down the park for, like, 30 minutes because I was so nervous to ask someone for an interview, and also because you're doing it at a place where you maybe don't have a lot of credibility because they're like, "Okay, so you're doing it for social media? Could I see your social media?" Like,
Yeah.
0 followers, like
You're like,
um,
you're my first one. What do you think about that?
yeah, literally. And then after, getting a few more shooting days under my belt, like maybe like a month or so,
Yeah.
I feel so comfortable to do it now. It is
Really?
interesting though, because I do think environment had a big part to play for that comfortability because so I mentioned I just got back from Paris. So I was in a few cities in Europe and I actually shot interviews over there. And
I
I
can't
know.
wait to watch.
Yeah, yeah. So I have some up in Prague right now. So I noticed that when I was there, the feeling that I had the first day ever shooting kind of came back, and I was a little more nervous than usual. And so that was kind of fascinating to reflect on. I'm not exactly sure why that was, but it was cool because after I knocked the first one out, then that feeling kind of washed back away. But it was kind of interesting to re-experience that feeling of, hey, like I'm a little bit nervous to do this.
Did you
Um,
pace again when you went back and forth?
A little bit. I was with a friend, and we were just walking around endlessly, and he's like, "Are we gonna do this?" Or
You're like, of course.